This book came out of conversations. I like to think of it as a community project because I could never have written it if I didn't have any friends. And I asked those friends various questions, and I listened to their answers, and then I went and I wrote down what they said as I remembered it. So this first piece, my friend is a lawyer in LA, and he grew up in Los Angeles, and I asked him to tell me all the times he could remember when he was pulled over by the police. And I said, if you come over to my house and you do this, I will make you dinner. So he came over to my house, and his wife came, and she oddly had never heard any of these stories. I knew whatever was in front of me was happening, and then the police vehicle came to a screeching halt in front of me, like they were setting up a blockade. Everywhere were flashes, a siren sounding, and a stretched out roar. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now. Then I just knew. And you're not the guy, and still you fit the description, because there is only one guy who is always the guy fitting the description. I left my client's house knowing I would be pulled over. I just knew. I opened my briefcase on the passenger seat just so they could see. Yes, officer, rolled around on my tongue, which grew out of a bell that could never ring because its emergency was a tolling I was meant to swallow. In a landscape drawn from an ocean bed, you can't drive yourself sane. So angry, you can't drive yourself sane. This motion wears a guy out. Our motion is wearing you out. And still, you're not the guy. Then flashes a siren, a stretched out roar. And you're not the guy, and still you fit the description because there is only one guy who is always the guy fitting the description. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now. I must have been speeding. No, you weren't speeding. I wasn't speeding? You didn't do anything wrong. Then why are you pulling me over? Why am I pulled over? Put your hands where they can be seen. Put your hands in the air. Put your hands up. Then you are stretched out on the hood, then cuffed. Get on the ground now.
I actually wanted to ask you about that ending because one of the most marked things about Citizen and that people have written about and asked you about is how much of it takes place in the second person. So that you can be white or black. You don't know in some instances who is white or who is black or where the tension in the relationship lies. You don't know whether the you is a stand-in for the I or whether the you is an other. But towards the end, you do this amazing thing where suddenly you go from you to I, he. Do I get the sequence right? I, he, she. Let me just get the sequence right because I don't want to mess it up because it's so beautiful. And yes, I want to interrupt to tell him, her, us, you, me, I don't know how to end it. That comes up in a few places towards the end. So I was just wondering what you were thinking and doing when it suddenly opens up like that.
Well, the use of the second person was one of those moments where, as a writer, you understand the amount of mobility it allows you.
Yeah.
And so when it occurred to me that these stories should be told in the second person, for practical reasons, I didn't own them. And then I had this little joke, which was, I'm talking about the other, or the othering of another.
Yes.
And so that's the second person. So that, this is how I get my jokes. And so, so that was very funny to me. But inside, as you mentioned, inside that the you can be plural, singular, it can be intimate, and also accusative. And so I loved the range in there. But I didn't want to end the book without reclaiming the centralizing I, because it seemed to me that part of the problem of systemic racism is that one internalizes the racism and loses the steadying figure of the I.